Can you sell a tenant occupied home in Florida? Absolutely. But maybe you shouldn't. And here's some of the reasons why. So what we typically do before we put the property on the market is we kind of gauge the tenants. We call them. Is this something you're open to? Do you have availability? Are you interested in potentially purchasing the property? If they say no and it's a hard no, you're kind of dead in the water right there, realistically. Not because you can't do it. Technically, the lease says that you can do it, but how do you enforce the lease? It's with an eviction, right? Probably doesn't make sense to evict your tenant over a disagreement with showing times. Also, if you decided to do that, a judge may look at that and decide against you. So it's not something that I would advise. If the tenant's not in, they're not even open to doing showings, I probably wouldn't even list the property for sale at all. Even when tenants tell us they're okay with us listing the property and they tell us they're happy to host showings, we still find access to be a big issue. We see a lot more reschedules, a lot more cancellations. And again, in this market, buyers have a lot of options. Agents can go on MLS and they can probably schedule to view 20 houses. If they have to go back and forth with you or with your property manager or with a tenant for scheduling, they may just look elsewhere. What I always suggest to my owners and investors when they're listing a property for rent or for sale is to try to control as much as you can, right? So we want to get good looking listing photos, good marketing spiel. We want to be priced correctly. Those are factors that we could control. So during the management process, we want to kind of keep that same mindset. But when you have a tenant in place, you are relinquishing a lot of control. And some of these factors are very important as far as if you're actually going to get your home sold. One of those big factors is going to be condition, right? So if the tenant's there, who knows what it's going to look like? So maybe you inspected the property. It looked good during the inspection. I surely hope so. The tenants were notified most likely and they could put their best foot forward and have the property ready for you. But life happens. Sometimes you're getting a notice for a showing within an hour or two. You don't know what the condition of the property is going to be like. You don't know if the grass is getting mowed. And a buyer isn't going to sit there and envision, oh, I could see it looking like this or like that. They're going to say, ooh, man, that was a mess. And they're going to get out of there and move on to another listing that's tidy. Not only do you have to worry about the condition during the showings, but you have to worry about the condition after move out. So many people will be selling a property and someone else is going to move in and they schedule the closing right after the tenant's supposed to move out, not factoring in that the property most likely needs some cleaning, painting, etc. So you have control over that if you get the tenants out first. Another reason you may not want to list a tenant occupied home is that your buyer pool is going to be much smaller. So I would say probably 8 out of 10 buyers in our area are looking for primary residence. If your property is tenant occupied, you're now eliminated. And go back to those other issues, they probably aren't going to want to schedule or deal with a tenant on the move out unless it's like a perfect dream home, right? So you may be saying, well, an investor might want to take it, and maybe they would. But in most cases, investors want deals. They don't want to pay more than what you paid for the property. And if that's the case, that means the purchase price is probably higher. The interest rate in today's market is most likely higher. And who knows if your current rental rate is going to cover that. I would be willing to guess that it won't. So what is it that we actually recommend that you do? Well, we recommend that you non-renew the lease, renovate the property, clean it, do whatever that you need to do, and then list the property at that time with the property vacant. This eliminates those 3 issues that we discussed. You're now going to have access to the property, you control the condition of the property, and you've now increased your buyer pool. I know a lot of investors don't like to have a vacant property and they get really worried about who's going to pay the mortgage and what bills are going to get covered while the property is vacant. And realistically, you got to just have that be part of your business plan. And also, we tend to see properties sell for higher and in less time when they follow this strategy. My last tip for you will be make sure you really nail down your sales CMA, okay? So if the comps are coming in at 300, but you want to list at 325, 350, at that point, keep your tenant, right? But if you're going to list correctly in accordance with the sales market, this is definitely your best strategy if you can do it.